Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juggernaut, and these will be my first impressions of Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. Now, everyone and their mother pretty much is playing this game right now and doing videos on it and, giving you reviews, let's plays, etc, etc. It's been a hugely anticipated game and it's, well, very, very popular, at least on the internet nowadays. As far as its Steam reviews are concerned, it's doing fairly alright. And yeah, it's a full-price game. It's developed by the, as I'm pretty sure you are all well aware of, a Ukrainian company. Much of the same guys that have worked, although not all, but some of the same guys that have worked on the previous Stalker games. I think a good chunk of the team was involved with Metro as well, in some capacity, which shows definitely in the the various aspects of the game. But yeah, that's the basic information about it. It's one of the most highly anticipated games of this year, I would say, if not more. So is it any good? Well, like I said, there's a billion videos out there about the game already, and a lot of people have received early access for it and have put out some content about the game. Now that it's been released, it's, I think, had its first day patch and stuff. I'm here to talk to you about what the game is like as well, but from the perspective of a Stalker veteran, in the sense that I've played through the first 3 games several times, and I have played hundreds, I would say, if not even 1,000+ hours of Stalker Anomaly, Stalker Escape from Pripyat, and Stalker Gamma. So all of these things make me an expert, right? Well, not really, but let's just say that I have a fair bit of experience with this game and a fair bit of experience with the franchise, and I can provide some insight, I suppose, as to what I think about the game and how true is it to the Stalker franchise and the formula and all of those good things. So, let's begin with the good. What is good in this game? A lot of things, honestly. The gunplay feels alright. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's very similar to games like Metro. If you've enjoyed the gunplay in Metro, I think you will like the gunplay here as well. Hello. Okay. Oh, I picked up some vodka. I can get rid of the radiation once I get out of here.
Did you make it? The mutants didn't get you, did they?
They tried.
Well, not really.
Take care out there. And, try not to hit Gloomy, alright?
Yeah, that's,
He may be a son of a bitch, but he is still my bro.
Again, I'm trying to point out the good things. Don't hit me with bugs already. That was one of the bugs. Audio is a bit buggy. There's actually several problems with the audio. For one, sometimes when you're talking to people over the radio, they will part of their voice lines will go in through the radio, and another part will sound like they're talking right next to you. And sometimes when you're talking to them, you'll sound like you're on the other end of the radio, and so on and so forth. Sound occasionally is also just completely missing. So, for example, I've had several instances where I tried to break windows, only for there to be no window-breaking sounds whatsoever. Not ideal, let's just say. And, there's also some floating objects, asset and animation problems, etc., etc., but that's to be expected. I feel like a lot of people are comparing this game to something like the original Stalker games, and they do so with kind of... Okay, I want to use this, thank you very much. Sure, there's a quick use button for that, but... Okay, is it... It used to be on the F keys back in the day, right? It used to be on the F keys, that worked. Now, not so much. Again, wrong button. Do I hold, maybe? Ah, I hold it for the bandages. Fine. Yeah, and then there's the lighting thing, which is Yeah, okay, that's also a thing. Haven't noticed that until now, but, terrific. Don't know what I expected. Give me a second here. Do I even have ammo for this thing? I kind of do, right? Okay, that's 3. I was told there's 5 guys in here.
I'm hiding here.
Oh, that's very good.
Over here, you pussy.
I've also heard people say that they're not the biggest fans of how the game looks like visually, that it looks older than it is, and so on and so forth. I honestly kind of have to disagree with that. I am playing this on the highest possible settings with FSR, and I will go into... that's a grenade. I will go into the settings and graphics and stuff like that in a little bit, but... for me, honestly, the game looks fine. I don't mind it at all. I think this is perfectly acceptable, textures-wise. Sure, there are some complaints about the texture quality, where no matter what you do, some textures just look significantly lower quality than others, and so on and so forth. To be brutally honest with you, to me that's a little bit nitpicky, kind of, and I don't really mind it, nor do I really notice it that much. And part of the reason why I don't is the atmosphere of the game. The game has a very, very good atmosphere, as you'd expect. It's one of the hallmarks, if you will, of the Stalker franchise. An incredibly good atmosphere. And I think it builds very well on top of the foundations that were laid in stuff like Call of Pripyat, Shadow of Chernobyl, so on and so forth. The game works in that sense pretty well as a Stalker game, in the sense of its gameplay, gunplay, mutants, visuals, the atmospherics, the lighting, and everything attached to that. I've also heard people complain that the game's too dark to play at night. That's the point. I, for one, am absolutely sick and tired of games where nighttime is just a slightly grey and dull version of daytime, where there is no darkness, there are practically no shadows, and the only thing that happens at nighttime is the game gets this sort of beige grey filter over it, where everything's a little bit dimmed down, but you can still see perfectly clearly in every corner of an unlit room. Now, to me, that is a travesty, honestly. Hello.
Well, who sent you? Richter or that asshole Zorik?
Yeah?
You aren't hurt, are you?
I mean, physically, not emotionally.
Nothing. Those losers from garbage can't even throw a decent punch. The zone's not the same anymore. Even the damn bandits have gone soft.
Right, yeah. Anyways, well... there you go, there's your answer. But as I was saying, so in that sense, the game's good, right? In sense of the performance, well, here's the thing. You know, I'm sick and tired of the lighting problems of modern games. I mean, I've loved Cyberpunk to death, for example, but Cyberpunk suffers from the same problem of nighttime being just way too bright. And I don't just mean under the neon lights, I mean everywhere. Other games, pretty much most AAA games, suffer from that as well. Well, this game suffers the same problem as a lot of the newer games, and that is that the optimization for it is dog shit. And I apologize for using strong language like that, but it is actually just dog shit. It works if you turn on DLSS or FSR. Now, to be fair, I have a very, very beefy computer, and so I don't really expect to be playing this at anything under 120 frames plus on maximum settings and everything in 1440p. But at the same time, you can't help but feel for the other consumers out there and the average consumer who does not have a, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 PC and is running it on a regular rig, and for him, even with FSR or DLSS, it's still gonna not run that great because the game's optimization is a bit And what I've also noticed is that it tends to drop frame rates, or tends to drop the frame rate in some weird situations. Now, a part of that reason, I'm assuming, is because of the A-Life 2, which is this simulated dynamic system of NPCs moving and the zone just sort of having a life of its own, irrelevant of the player. So they'll be moving from spot to spot, talking to each other, fighting, etc., etc. Which isn't a great system. Mind you, it wasn't perfect in Anomaly, it wasn't perfect in any of the original Stalker games either, so in that sense, it's a small upgrade on the original, but it's not that big of a deal. I appreciate that it's there. I think the game would be much, much worse off without A-Life, but at the same time, it tends to... how do I put this? It's not the greatest thing ever, in the sense that it's a bit simplistic, and it doesn't have the greatest memory. And by that I mean it... Oh, I can attach it to the pistol. Alright, cool. And by that I mean people will talk to each other, walk away for a bit, and then come back and pretend like they haven't seen each other in months. Or they'll walk up to a spot, sit around a bit, walk up to another spot, sit there, and then go back and forth, and just behave really unnaturally, especially in dialogues to each other. Now, granted, this isn't the biggest problem known to mankind, it's mostly there for flavor, and you don't really pay attention to it that much, it's just there to make the zone seem a little bit more alive, but at the same time, for a game of this price, of this caliber, of so much expectation and so on and so forth, it feels a little bit cheap. But it's fine. Among other things, the positives, I would say, are the locations. The zone feels great. Mind you, I haven't explored a ton of it, but I've seen videos of other people. I've explored just areas of the lesser zone. I haven't gone around too much. It's very, very early on, but from what I've seen thus far, I've seen a variety of areas, from more urban areas, rooms, doors, houses, to underground areas, to caves. In fact, the tutorial area does a pretty good job of showcasing different places in the zone, and the different things you can expect, from enemies, to anomalies, to environmental hazards, so on and so forth. You get a sort of cross-section of everything there is in the game in the tutorial, and that's pretty good. I appreciate that. So, anyways, other than that, the game just really feels good exploring as well, because most places where I've gone and I thought to myself, right, well, this feels like there's going to be a stash there, or some medication, or some ammo or something. Yep, true enough, most of the time there was exactly that, and so exploration is rewarded. Even in literally the very earliest stages of the game, like the first few minutes of the tutorial, if you go a little bit off the beaten path, you find an extra medkit or something. And that sort of persists throughout the entirety of the game. The PDA system is back. The PDA looks more modern, feels more modern, but is, still the same PDA from before. You have the journal, the notes, you can view your upgrades through here, you have tutorials in case you forget something, so on and so forth. That's all fine and well. It's good. I have nothing against this. You can also put various markers, up to 10, which... you could have let us put a bit more, but never mind, it's alright. And then that's about it. And now we go into the darkness, right? So this is how dark the game gets. Not morally speaking, just literally lighting-wise, right? This is pretty much pitch black in the zone. Makes you kind of yearn for a night vision set, doesn't it? But you also... can't help but feel like the flashlight that you have on you is a little bit inadequate for virtually anything and everything, which makes for some interesting encounters, adds to the horror elements of the game. You start looking at things, shall we say, a little bit differently. trying to find animals or enemies or whatever that are at the edge of your view range, I suppose, in terms of the light and the edge of the lighting and all that good stuff. It's fun, don't get me wrong. It's all right, but at the same time feels a little bit, you know, like can't I just find a normal sodding flashlight, which apparently, you know, I might be able to do in the future, but right now at least is not in the cards for me. In fact, I don't think there is an upgrade for the flashlight in that sense. I'm pretty sure you can get night vision later down the line, but as far as the flashlight is concerned, I think this is it. So, with the basic good stuff out of the way, let's talk about some of my complaints. Oh. I thought I could just drop down and not have to worry about that. Yeah, oh well. Okay, so let's talk about some of the negatives and some of my complaints. Well, no, I have one more thing. One more thing, right? And that is in the options menu. If you go over to UI, it is highly customizable. So HUD display settings, you need to turn these off and on, and then exit the options menu and go back in, at least for now, until this gets fixed. And only then, or rather then and only then, do you get these options down here. These were hidden for me when I first booted up the game. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, you can turn off the compass, the ammo counter, all of these things, or you can turn off the HUD entirely, but unfortunately that's not really an option for you, or not a great option for you, because you have no way, literally no way of checking your health if you do that. So yeah, I don't recommend that. I wish there was a way to check your health, for example, in your inventory or whatever. But if you open up your inventory, as you can see, there's no health bar here. Adding a little health bar, like somewhere around here, I think would have been, or a radiation thing as well, like in the older games, I think would have been great for people that want to play the game without any HUD elements, which can be quite immersive and fun and so on and so forth. But yeah, anyways, that aside, the HUD's pretty good in that you can turn it off, or you can go for a more modern Call of Duty-esque kind of experience with hit counters and a bunch of UI elements, like the compass and you know, everything. Why you would do that is beyond me, but if you want it, it's there for you. And now, let's go over into the bad, and why I can't really recommend this game right now. But first of all, the options menu, which I already mentioned. Game menu is good. Autosave, tutorial, object highlighting. Some interactive objects are painted yellow to make them easier to visually distinguish. You can turn that off. One of my biggest complaints about this game, and in fact one of the community's biggest complaints, was initially when the first few trailers dropped, this was a big issue for them. Everything was painted yellow. All the ladders, all the stashes, or everything you can interact with had a slap of yellow paint on it, which felt very like a Ubisoft kind of approach. Yeah, not ideal. You can just turn it off, and I love that. So there you go. Though I feel like this should be on the UI almost, but yeah, anyways, hit apply. There you go. Lovely. Voiceover and text is available in, well, text is available in a variety of languages, including Serbian, which is, you know, pretty cool. It's also available in Russian, but as you can see, there's not that many languages here, and my native language is one of them, which is, you know, the patriot in me has to give credit where credit is due. Thank you. On the other hand, the voiceover language is available in English and Ukrainian. Oh boy, this was done for, originally I think the game was meant to have a Russian dub as well, but that was abandoned for, you know, fairly obvious reasons, given the country of origin, shall we say, and they have the Ukrainian voiceover, which is good. It's a lot better than the English one. The English voice actors sometimes make awkward pauses for no reason like that, and they often sound a bit weird, some of them. Some of them sound great, and I don't mean in the sense of just the language barrier. I mean also in the sense of the quality of their deliveries and voice lines tends to vary a bit too much, in my modest opinion. Now, for example, you'll have some people in the zone who will nail English and speak it like a native speaker. Great, realistic, and some people will struggle to, string together complex sentences and stuff. That's a feature. That's not a problem. That's a good thing. Like, you have various people who speak English differently. That's okay. It's kind of entertaining, although the sort of assumption is you're talking in Ukrainian to everyone around you, or in Russian, whatever. One of the two, depending on who you run up against. You should be able to understand each other perfectly. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case. There's various factions in the zone, and you can also take that as an indicator that you're dealing with different people who are more or less eloquent, right? And then that's sort of represented here. I have the RP reason is what I'm trying to say, right? And I don't mind it one bit. That's fine. But what I mean is the quality of the voice actors tends to vary a little bit too much. Some of them really get into it, deliver awesome lines with a lot of passion, with a lot of immersion and roleplay, and some of them just feel a little bit too flat in situations where they should be excited or their life should be in danger and stuff like that. Combined with the frequent audio bugs, yeah, not the best. And then... interesting. And then, on top of that, there's the other bugs in the game. Like I said, floating elements, glitches, noise missing, stalkers and enemies stuck in various animations, stuff like that. It doesn't happen very often, but it is one of the more broken games right now, right? Which is good, because it means it feels just like Stalker, right? Yeah, to an extent, but... I'm sorry. To an extent, but, it's also, shall we say, not the greatest thing for a modern game to feel like that, especially at full price and on release and stuff like that. We don't expect it to be perfect, but it does get a bit much sometimes. I get the feeling I'm going to find a controller in this cave. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, No? No? Nobody's home. Alright, cool. Not gonna lie, that was a bit... gut-wrenching. Scary, even. But on the topic as well, I've talked about the good side of things. And yeah, the bugs are an issue, and they can be annoying, and they can also be fixed relatively easily, and I'm definitely seeing a ton of potential for this game. But on the other hand, the game sort of shoots its shot at you, in a sense, relatively quickly, in that it shows you most of its enemies, it shows you most of its challenges, if you will, and stuff like that relatively early on, and it hits you with a bloodsucker pretty early on as well. And it's just not that scary, I'm afraid.
Talk to our boss.
Like, one of the, I guess, kind of issues here is that the combat and everything just feels a little bit too forgiving. How do I put this? And I say this knowing full well... So, excuse me, just give me a second. Oh, I apologise. I appear to have caught the plague yesterday. Or, something along those lines at least, because... yeah, I've had a very high fever, I've been coughing, and so on and so forth. It's not
I'm so over today.
Not been great. Anywho, let's get on to, or rather, let's get back on track, as I was saying. First and foremost, I want to go through this area down here and try and figure out what the hell's going on. I now realise I probably could have just shot this and it would have exploded and cleared the way through, but nah. Never mind. Well, hello. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. And I guess this just goes to show even further. The game has very interesting locations for you to discover and explore and all that good stuff. Oh, that hurts. I actually can't go through. Or can I not go through only when it's active? I can if I just... No, I can't go through. Although I don't see any reason why I can't go around. Right? Okay, so stick to the wall and then... Yeah, and then straight through. Alright, there we go. Oh god. First of all, give me full auto, please. Second of all, ouch. Now, here's a good example of what I was talking about. How the combat feels just a little bit, I don't know, arcadey and kind of forgiving. On the one hand...
Talk to our boss.
Yeah, sure I will. By the way, skinning mutants for parts is gone. It's not in the game anymore. On the one hand, I know... We'll talk about this in a minute as well. There's just so much to talk about in this game. So, first and foremost, I know full well that a lot of the complaints that this game is getting is that it's a bit too hard, especially in the hardest difficulty. And then here I am saying the game's too easy, right? Well, it's a true Stalker veteran, aren't you? No, not in that sense. I'm not talking about the raw game difficulty. Yes, if your weapon jams, you come across against a horde of, like, bloodsuckers or whatever, it's a difficult fight, you're going to need to run away. And I think a lot of people don't really take that sort of approach to a Stalker game. They take more of a... well, I don't know, a different genre of game, I guess, approach to it, where you have to go head first through whatever obstacle the game throws at you, and there's no other alternative. There's different ways of completing quests, there's different ways of getting to where you need to be, and ultimately, you don't need to take every single fight every single time. You can run away, you can retreat, you can come back a different time when you have better gear, or when you've healed up, or when you've fixed your equipment, so on and so forth. That's an option, right? Nobody's saying that isn't an option, and it's important to remember that that is there for you if you want to take that avenue of approach. Now, Zalicia, this is friendly, I think, because he said the bar here is open, so I think if I put away my gun, I should be able to walk in. Which is, again, another thing that you need to keep in mind, that people don't like it when you walk up to them, you know, with a... gun pointed at their face.
What you want?
Hi.
Zone life might
Oh, never mind. So what exactly do I mean by the combat's a little bit arcadey and forgiving? Well, you've noticed at the very beginning of the video, maybe, I had a grenade thrown at my feet. And I kinda just walked away from that. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of things like that. It's very easy to heal, you just click a button and all your injuries go away. I don't think that's a great solution to the combat being difficult. I think the way Stalker Anomaly did it, or Escape from Pripyat, or various mods that you have over there, the way Tarkov does it, I think is a little bit more interesting, and a little bit more adequate for a game like this, which is, by all accounts, supposed to be difficult. You know, a game like this is supposed to be difficult, especially on the hardest difficulty level. It absolutely is. But, for example, here my frame rate is going all over the place. That's interesting. Because, like, I'm not saying that I need to have less health or be blown up on the spot from a grenade, or just have bullets do more damage or whatever. Now, what I'm saying is we could do it or rather, it could have been done in such a way that if you get a grenade tossed right at your feet and it explodes, it doesn't have to kill you instantly, but maybe it'll break your legs. And then you need a special healing item or a doctor to heal those legs, otherwise you can't sprint, for example. Or you're going to limp all over the place, or it can break your arms, and then aiming will be more difficult, and so on and so forth. Unless you have something like a doctor's bag from Fallout New Vegas, or, some other type of instrument, like a survival kit or whatever, to do surgery on yourself to heal up, or visit a doctor again. I think that would be a much better way of doing things, because as things stand, the combat kind of gets in the way of the horror. Which is not a good thing. You want the two to work together rather than against each other. And for examples of how, I point you to something like Alien Isolation, for example, which is a game that had combat, but the fact that you could just sort of barely fend off the alien worked together with the gameplay to create scary moments and elements. Here, I'm not saying this should be like Alien Isolation, just I'm giving you an example of how gameplay and the horror elements of the game, the atmosphere and everything, work together to create the effect. Here, it's one against the other. Why? Bloodsuckers are supposed to be one of the toughest and one of the scariest enemies in the game, because they're invisible, and you can pick up on sort of visual cues of where they are, and you can try and fight them, but here they're very, very fast, very agile, they duck and weave a lot better than they did in the older games, and yet still, if I face them in Stalker Anomaly, I am terrified, and every time I face them in Stalker 2, I felt like, alright, I'm gonna have to waste a load of ammo, probably shooting all over the place. Yeah. Reason being, despite the game's terrific audio, when it works, in terms of footsteps and everything, despite all these things, a bloodsucker will hit me, and I will just instantly heal. And I will shoot him back. And then he's going to hit me again, and I'm just going to hit Q and instantly heal. Well, Juggernaut, wasn't it like that in Stalker 1 as well? Isn't it sort of sticking true to the Stalker formula? It is, you could heal very, very quickly, even without an animation back in the older Stalker games, but there was an animation that the Bloodsucker would do when he grabs you and drains your blood. And there you would drop your gun, you wouldn't be able to do anything, right? It would just be it, right? You're done. Not great.
Anytime. I've been on a dozen of these missions. Some of them can make a decent movie. Too bad I signed an NDA.
Okay.
Eddie.
Yeah, it looks like a... Okay. What was it me, this one I'm trying to get at? I don't, Is it like, is it the army? Is it a paramilitary group? I'm trying to figure out. Anywho.
I know it's dangerous, but I'm offering
that's
good money.
that's sort of, I think, the big problem for me. In terms of fighting against NPCs and soldiers and stalkers and stuff like that, it's a mixed bag as well. On the one hand, they move around. They won't sit in the same spot. They will coordinate with each other. the A life system is interesting, especially when you start toying around with the AI a little bit. Try and get the AI to do some of the fighting for you, drag them out to camp. There's various things you can do. I'm not gonna spoil too much of it, but there's things you can do to make the AI sort of do your job for you. Like, ooh, I can pick up a guitar and I can. It's not in my inventory. Can I play it when I sit down? I can probably play it when I sit down next to a campfire. That's in Stalker Anomaly as well. All right, cool. You, I'm assuming, are the local merchant, so I'm gonna be, making friends with you, I think. Anywho, when talking about combat against other stalkers and military and stuff like that, they will, like I said, do all of those things. They will help each other out. They will try and outflank you very often, so on and so forth. But if you if you pay attention to them a little bit, you will realize that they're a bit stupid. They will march towards you with little regard for their own lives. They will throw a lot of grenades, which I don't know, and they will throw them often with perfect precision to where you were. Granted, if you kill a bunch of the enemies and you wound like the last one, he will get panicked, he will start shooting where you're not, you will see the sort of panic in his eyes and in his behavior and stuff. That's great, all of those things are great, and then you run into the opposite, the opposite end, sorry again. Oh, sorry about that, just another coughing spree. Whew. Anyways, like I was saying, then you run into the opposite end of their behavior, which is just a bit brain dead occasionally. I have found enemy stalkers shooting at a rock in front of them, or a door, or a building in front of them, and there's an enemy behind that building, but they're just not able to put two and two together that they should go around the building, and now instead they just shoot at a solid object. And it's not even one of those situations where there's like light cover, and if they have a, like 7.62 or 5.56 or whatever, that can pierce through light cover and hit the guy on the other end. No, they were shooting at like a brick and mortar building, or just a giant boulder or whatever. Yeah, like I've seen that as well. I've also seen the AI multiple times do this. They would just get lost for some reason. It kind of feels like the AI just breaks, and they have no idea where they are, they have no idea where I am, and they're just confused and walking around slowly, or just sitting and staring in one direction, not doing literally anything. I've seen that as well, which, is not the greatest thing ever, obviously, but at the same time, yeah, it's a bit of an issue. Anywho, I think that's about it, as far as like the bad sides of the game are concerned. On the other hand, some of the nostalgic elements are there, like the bread and the sausage look the same. A lot of the items you're going to recognize, a lot of the guns you're going to recognize, just with more detail and they just kind of look a little bit better, right, in all respects, but generally speaking, they're still fairly recognizable and good, and all that's fine and well. Types of ammo, also fairly recognizable. Equipment, slots, artifacts, everything. There's a whole bunch of nostalgia right now kicking in, sort of, as I look at all of these things, and that's good. I like that. I really, really do. There's now a system for modifying guns as well, so you can put on different sights, attachments. You can upgrade them with weaponsmiths, like in some of the later installments of the Stalker series. And yeah, it's not bad at all, don't get me wrong, it is not bad at all. It's just, I feel like, for the price and for the expectations and everything, it feels occasionally a little bit cheap. It feels a little bit rushed and a little bit not quite there yet. On the other hand, I feel like with a little bit of work, this game can achieve a lot. It can get rid of most of its bugs. It can add some new features. It can improve the AI a little bit, and with, again, a little bit of work, not much, but just a little bit of work, I feel like the basis is there for this to be an incredible game. Especially, like, God, can you just imagine a vibrant modding community for it? Not something weird and wacky and as over the top like the Anomaly mods. Obviously, I'm not expecting that much. It would be lovely, of course. It would be the best thing ever, but keeping sort of more tame expectations and hopes. Just like a few mods that add maybe a different healing system, a different health system, some new weapons, some new features, stuff like that. It's just small bits of content here and there. I think that would be just the most amazing thing ever. And so I definitely see the basis of a great even experience here. The problem is, as things stand right now,
A trader who goes by Hamster is peddling this service weapon that belonged to one of those wardens. He got it from Squint.
Apologies, Captain, but Zalicia is a free trade zone. We have an agreement with Korshinov.
Where is Squint?
The zone has its share of secrets. Who are we to meddle in its designs?
Playing a wizened Stalker sage, are you? Fine. Squint was there for sure.
well, this is dramatic.
Finished off the wounded and looted their bodies. Is that the Stalker way now?
Absolutely. Yeah, who am I to judge?
Who am I to judge?
I do exactly the same thing
If you won't tell
every
me,
time.
others will. Seize them.
Easy now. Nobody's going anywhere.
If you don't want the innocent to suffer, find me the culprit.
Well, first bit of political intrigue there, I suppose. Anywho, that's, I think, going to do it for this video. Ultimately, do I recommend buying Stalker 2? Heart of Chernobyl? Well, if you are a fan of the Stalker games and you've played through all of them, then definitely yes. I think you will want to be there for this experience. As the game grows, as it gets better, I think it's worth jumping in the game right now. It's good enough, it's a little bit broken, it's a little bit buggy, but it is fun, ultimately. I have my share of problems with it, both with the AI, with the healing, with the difficulty level, and by the way, increasing the difficulty level just makes enemies more tanky. It doesn't make them smarter, it doesn't make the, for example, the mutants any more dangerous, and they're already really tanky. So going up to the hardest difficulty level just feels like it makes everything a bullet sponge, right? And I really don't like that either, so I recommend playing on the Stalker difficulty initially, and then see how things go from there. If you want to increase it to the highest difficulty, and you don't mind the bullet sponging so much, especially if you have really good aim and aim for headshots most of the time, I think you can get away with it. It's pretty okay. And just use like specialized weapons against mutants, like shotguns, usually pretty good. But yeah, like other than that, like those are generally not major issues I have with the game. It's all right. It's good. It's good. Did I expect a little bit more from it, both in terms of the characters, in terms of the story, which so far is all right, but it's a little bit simplistic. Factions and everything, again, counting both what I've played myself and what I've seen from other people play yesterday and the day before and stuff like that. I expected a little bit more from it, so I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but it's all right. If you're a fan of the Stalker games, definitely go for it. If you're a fan of Tarkov, I think you're gonna... It's a very different game. It's a lot less hardcore, but it's a lot less difficult. It's a lot less unforgiving, but I think you're still gonna like it. It's pretty good. If you're not so much a fan of that, and you're just more coming into this game from Metro or none of those games, I would wait a little bit, wait for a few weeks for some of the updates and patches, fixes to the most game-breaking bugs, to land, and then we'll see how things go from there. And if you can get it a little bit on sale, that would be lovely as well. But other than that, yeah, Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, given the development hell that this game was in, given the shall we say, politically difficult situation, which I will not touch with a 10-foot pole, as they say, because this is not what this video is about, but given all the difficulties around its development and so on and so forth, I think it turned out into a better product than a more pessimistic me would have thought, but it still does, I can see a ton of room for improvement in the game as well. So there you go, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned with the rest of the series and the rest of the content that I produce on this channel. Eventually, I think I will do a Let's Play of Stalker 2, I just really don't want to do it now. One of the reasons is the bugs and all those things. I feel like I just wouldn't enjoy it all that much. The other reason is everyone and their mother is playing this game, and I have other things that I want to finish and I want to do. But I will keep my eye on it, right? I will see. I will see. Maybe I do it. Maybe I don't. We will see. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Have fun. Take care, and bye bye.